Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. Tim, what's going on, brother?
I'm disgruntled right now.
I know you are, but why don't you tell everybody else why you're disgruntled?
Well, we've been moving house for the past, week. We're done now, except I'm setting up the home office. So it's not yet set up. We've got the desk that'll be getting built. So I didn't plan on doing video, and I feel underprepared for video. And you're like, just do it. And okay.
So those that are listening to the podcast, Tim right now is moving, so they can't see you, Tim. But you look good, man. It's all good. This is part of real life. We're all businessmen, and we all get it, and life happens. But we talk about standards all the time, and who do I get to be? And right now, we're doing this so the men out there can get a little insight. So
yeah, very true.
Yeah. Tim, one of the things I wanted to talk about today, as I was thinking about this, I was gone for a little over a week on a business trip, and we often go away for our alpha resets. You know, those are intense. They're 4-day, very intense retreats. But for coaches, it's really a 7-day event away from family and loved ones. And then we have the Brotherhood event coming up where we'll be flying all over the world. We do that several times a year. What I wanted to talk about is something that happens to all of us businessmen. And the question is, Tim, is how do you stay connected to your partner while you're away?
Tough one sometimes, right? Especially if you're in different time zones. I know for Amelia and I, especially when, you're back on the West Coast now, aren't you? I was going to say when you were on the West Coast and we were doing the alpha resets over there, 8-hour time difference. And it can be tricky, especially for us when, I guess for most guys when they travel in business, I think, I'll speak for Amelia. She has this idea that, I go in, it's all play. And, don't get me wrong, I love it, and there is a lot of play, we have some great fun. And at the same time, I'm so immersed in the experience and what it is we're doing, whether it's the Brotherhood or the Alpha Reset, that I'm often too exhausted to even, make that phone call at, 10 o'clock Pacific. So it's 2 p.m. in the afternoon here when she's awake and she's been to the gym and she's done her thing. And, quite frankly, sometimes it can go 2 or 3 days just, bouncing a few WhatsApp messages back and forth or, especially with the locations we're at, Doug, where there's not really any mobile signal. So if we leave the place, then, I'm not really going to, if we leave the place and we're in the middle of the mountains, for example, or you and I in Morocco, the middle of the Sahara, you're not going to be getting signal for, a few days, are you? So it's for Amelia as well. Her love language is quality time and acts of service, which obviously when I'm away, it's not like it's gifts, right? And I can just send her some flowers whilst I'm away. I've done that in the past, and she enjoys it. But it doesn't. She's like, oh my God, you're the best. Oh, thank you for thinking of me. She's like, yeah, great, some flowers. I find it even harder to come up with ideas to, if I can't FaceTime her and connect and really be present, then it can be difficult.
So I was thinking about this, and I agree with you. My wife always thinks business trips are fun, and we have this great time, and we do, like you said. And I was on a business trip away from the Powerful Man for something else. It's the same idea that comes in. And I was thinking about ways that we as men, as businessmen, can stay connected. Because let's be real, sometimes some of the guys listening to this have been caught with their pants down, literally and figuratively, on business trips. There is a sense and culture in our society that, on business trips is kind of like Vegas, right? What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Yeah. And when you're away from your partner, if you're not having sex or your relationship can be bad, it's very easy to meet somebody of the opposite sex, especially in business. If you're doing business or a colleague or something can have up, it's easy to have that slip for a lot of the guys. And a lot of the men that we see coming through the program and just business owners I know, Tim, and business leaders, this happens quite often, is they get themselves in a situation. These are high performers. They're stressful jobs. and they're looking for a release. And oftentimes they can look around. It could be an assistant. It could be the waitress at the, at the local restaurant, because they have that sense of mystique or adventure, because they know they'll not see her again, right? And yet she's got that cute butt walking away. They know that there's nobody else around. So there's a feeling for a lot of the guys that they can get away with things. And when that happens, a disconnection happens in the relationship, right? And so that disconnection, although it's not a deliberate one, you're really putting space between you and your partner. Whether you want to or not, that space is growing because you're allowing outside energy to come into the relationship. Now, there are rare cases where some people have open relationships, and truthfully, I don't know any of those that have worked out long-term for people. But the point is, for most of us, especially married men, when you go away, how is it that you can stay connected? What are those little things that you can do to allow your partner to feel special, allow your partner to feel part of what you're doing? We talked about several times episodes ago about the idea that our partners don't feel involved in our business as much. You were mentioning Amelia, your partner, having that conversation with you several times. But how do you make them feel involved while you're away and they're watching the kids, for example, and they're changing poopy diapers or have people complaining to them, and yet here you are, traveling the world, and the next Brotherhood retreat's going to be in Cancun, right? And I'm going to have 2 kids under 3 years old while we're there, and my wife's going to be changing poopy diapers. She's going to have a toddler running around crazy, and all she's thinking about is you and I sitting on the beach, sipping Mai Tais, getting massages.
I'll be sure to send her a selfie. I dare not.
No, you dare not. That's right. So I was thinking about this and ways that we can do it. Some of the things that I do, and I'm talking to some of the guys about this in the Brotherhood, but some of the things I do is I send little messages. You would call them cheeky messages, but little messages to my wife, like flirtatious ones. And the way I do is I leave them on different channels. And what I mean by that is I'll do text messages, right? Because we're in a time zone difference this last trip I was on. And so I'll leave little messages in text. Then I'll also leave a little message on Facebook. Then I'll also leave her a Voxer, right? Or another app that I use on the iPhone. And so I'll leave her these little messages and little symbols, hearts and what have you, and gifts in different places, with the idea it's kind of like a virtual love note left different places in the house. So she doesn't know where she's going to stumble upon it, right? She has alerts on her phone, but she doesn't know where she'll stumble upon it in her day. And she finds herself actually trying to search online to see when one pops up. So it gives you that anticipatory feeling, that feeling of being pursued as a woman. And in me, I get to plan out something strategic and make her feel really great. And it gives us something to talk about throughout the day.
So, shameless plug now, Doug. What software do you use to automate all of that in your life?
Funny. As you know, I've shared this story early on in my relationship. There used to be an app called the Bro app. It probably still is. And I used to automate all of this, or a lot of this, until I got caught. You know me, eliminate, automate, delegate. But so now I do it differently. I just do little things. I used to set alarms on my phone, Tim, to do this, to make sure I remember, because I'm just not that guy. But I know it makes my wife feel better, so it's the outcome I'm looking for. And also keeps me in the conversation of our relationship and bettering it. Mm-hmm. Because if you can go deeper in your relationship, then why not? I've been through the dark side, the hell, the pit, the horrible times in relationships with my wife. I've been through, times where we were knocking on the door of divorce, times where we were, starting to both think, who else could we be with? What does life look like without that other person? And I don't want to go back there. It was horrible. It was a horrible experience. Wasn't good for her. Wasn't good for me. Won't be good for our kids if we were happy. We didn't have kids at the time. But point being is, what are those little things that we can do as men as we're traveling, we're doing business, we're out there conquering the world? What are the things that we could be doing to make our partner feel loved and respected and cared for, and bring the relationship closer while we're away, right? Use that as a springboard, is the way I look at it, to bring us closer, because we do spend so much time together. they do say absence makes the heart grow fonder, but how do you do it? And so yeah, I want to talk about a little bit about that in this episode and give the guys some ideas, because I know a lot of our men listening to this do travel. Some don't travel as much as you and I do, and some travel more. But what are some other things that you've heard the guys do, Tim?
Yeah, I'm just thinking as you're speaking, there's kind of two layers to this question I'm hearing anyway. One is, how do you stay connected to your partner whilst you're away? So how do you stay connected? Like you said, the text messages and things. But then there's a secondary component, which is the component of, oh, I'm away, nobody will find out. There's mystery. Do I stray? Because I'm wondering, there's a connection piece there, right? It's like, okay, I'm away from my wife. We're in different time zones. We're not able to speak. I don't have the guardrails of going home every night. I don't have the guardrails of her knowing what I'm doing and where I am. So how do I stay connected with her if maybe in our marriage back home, the connection is elicited by the guardrails that are there, and now I can stray? How do I stay connected to her and not stray? Do you see what I'm saying there? The kind of two elements of this that I'm hearing?
Well, yeah. I brought up the other one because I think they line up right into each other. I've been on many business trips where I've been with other business leaders who have decided that, while the cat's away, the mice will play, kind of attitude towards it. And, with those guys, getting to know them, the ones that I have gotten to know over time, their marriages have either crumbled or almost crumbled. But the real reality was they were trying to fulfill a need that they weren't getting at home. And they wanted to get it at home. They were scared to have the conversation. And what they lacked was the emotional intimacy with their partner. And so they sought out physical intimacy with somebody else.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just imagining, I've been on those trips as well. I can remember a fitness one. And because you imagine a bunch of fitness people all getting together, all in great shape and whatnot, usually leads to one place for many different people. And this one did just that. And a business trip, though, it's interesting because I remember speaking to a guy about a year ago, in fact, who was asking about the program. And the reason for him reaching out was because he had a daughter. He had a very successful business in the UK. His marriage was crumbling, and part of it was because he believed that the role that he played in his company was to wine and dine his clients so that when they came up to London or wherever he was, he would then take them to strip joints and do drugs with them and so on, as a way to build a relationship. And I'm sat here thinking, well, hang on a minute, if I was, and I know I'm going a little bit off topic here, but if I was to just to let your mind be at ease, Doug, I know what the topic is. But if I currently was on a business trip with another guy and he started to do this, I wouldn't trust him. I don't think I'd do business with him. And really, if he could do that to his family and his wife, without me meaning to judge him, I'm just thinking, okay, if he can do that to the people who he loves the most, then can I really trust him to have my best interests at heart if I go into business with him? It's a good point. It's a great question. How do you stay connected?
Well, yeah, I think it's the little things. I'm just using what I did recently on this trip. I was in Sedona, Arizona, long hours, working with a company. And that's where, I was thinking of, okay, how can I do this? In the past, I've done this, and we send flowers, right? Day one, boom, send flowers, takes a day to get there. You kind of set the tone, send little gifts here and there. Amazon's great for that. But I felt like, Amazon gifts or little gifts like that kind of they're not as personal. And I found, again, the messages and the phone calls, right? Not the obligatory call you at night, call you in the morning calls that a lot of people go through. But what's the little and then some call that says, I'm thinking of you? Something else that I've seen people do, and I don't do it as much, but I've seen people do is while they're at business, they'll take a picture of something and just write a little like, oh, this reminds me of you, or this time that we were in the Caymans or in Grand Canyon rafting down the river, things of that nature, and just little things that let your partner know, one, you're thinking of them, two, you desire them, three, that you want to be closer, right? And if you can add some spontaneity into that, you can almost virtually date them, right? We always talk about dating your wife or dating your spouse is something we talk about a lot, but you can do it virtually as well. Because remember, guys, when we were first dating this person, your beautiful wife, you would do little things when you weren't together, right? You would do these little things to let them know that you were still thinking of them, to let them know that you cared. Little flirtatious things, whether it be text message or, it could be, for some of you, it's sending a message on a pager, right? Whatever it may be, depending on where you were, you did these little things for them, and you can still do them today. It's just a matter of getting really creative. So one that I've used is sending messages on multiple platforms, kind of like a surprise, a little thing. Two is what I've seen, again, is that little picture, sending it to them. Again, all these have to do with a mobile device, but most of your partners are going to have their mobile with them, and that's what they're going to use a lot of. Third is sending, a gift, flowers. It's a great and easy one to do, but also another gift. And the fourth one I've seen people do is kind of a virtual shopping, where they'll go kind of virtually buy something. Hey, what do you think about this? I want to get this for you. Because they kind of do it after hours. Now, that's not my style, but again, it's something I've seen other men do in the past. And all of those can work. And the fifth, of course, is bringing a gift home for your partner, which again, isn't my thing, but it's something that's really common to do. I bring something home for my son each time that I go on a trip, but not my wife.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's important to know the love languages as well, because like I said, if you didn't know if you don't know your wife's love language and you're just there sending her gifts, and you think you're doing the best, right? Because you're thinking of her, you've been thoughtful with the gift, and but it just doesn't land for whatever reason with her. That could then leave you feeling quite underappreciated. Hey, did you get the gift? Oh yeah, thanks. Is that it? Thanks. I spent 2 hours, looking at different things for you. And that's where I mean with Amelia, making sure that for her love language is quality time and acts of service. So there's a couple of things that I like to do. One of them is, instead of calling her, I always do my best to FaceTime her, which I know it's a tiny switch, but I didn't realize it until recently. And then what I'll always do is show her around the place and show her around my bedroom and where we're staying and where we're going. And if there's something on the wall where we've traveled to, I'll take a picture and all things like that. But I think what she enjoys the most, I say her love language isn't gifts, Doug, but then if I'm in the airport and I take her back some like beauty products, she's now conditioned to the point that if we're flying to Boston to do the Alpha Reset, coming back, getting to the car at the train station, she's like, she's looking around for a gift. Thought you didn't like gifts. But for her, it's making sure that I clear my diary once I'm back for 2 or 3 days to actually be with her, and not just handling all of the decompression from the event, and making sure I protect my energy a little bit as well. So when I am back from the event, I think you've said this as well, I'm not just exhausted, right? I arrive home, but then I'm too exhausted to actually spend any time with Amelia. So I'm recovering for 2 days, and then it's back to work 2 days later. So for her, me allowing myself that time to recover, and then also planning time in for her afterwards, shows her that I've thought of her, and that always goes a long way.
It's beautiful. Well, I think the key here, guys, listening to this is, one is how do you stay connected, but two is making sure you try to stay connected to your partner while you're traveling. Business is one of those things that, if you're traveling for business, you're probably going to a different time zone, you're meeting with people you're not comfortable with, you're sleeping in a place that's not yours. So there's a lot of change that can come into that. And for a partner that's not used to that or hasn't done it themselves a lot, it's hard for them to understand and be able to relate to it. So obviously protecting your energy, as you were saying, Tim, both on the trip, but also when you get back, taking care of your health, but also being connected and really sharing yourself and your experience with your partner, and both the good and the bad. Right? I think a lot of times as men, we want to share all the bad things so they don't think we're having fun. Getting that massage on the beach or whatever it is. But you want to develop your relationship in such a way that you can actually be able to share both of those things, and your partner should be able to support you on that trip. Yes. So ironically, Aaron would be happy to see me getting a massage on the beach. Might be a little envious, but would, or jealous, I should say, but would like to see that. So gentlemen, in wrapping up here, Tim, what are a couple things you'd recommend these guys do?
If you don't already know it, definitely find out your wife's love language, because that's going to help you to connect with in the way she's going to receive it whilst you are away. Find out what yours is as well, because maybe this can go both ways as well. Whilst you're away, if you want to stay more connected, then it doesn't just have to be about you. A one-way street, right? There can be a reciprocation. Like Erin, for you, Doug always sends you pictures of Bodhi and other bits and pieces to keep you in the loop. And then I'll leave it there. In fact, I'm going to leave it there. I think those two would be a really great starting place.
Awesome. Well, there you have it, guys. Whatever you do, make sure you do something. That's it for us in another episode of The Powerful Man Show. If you haven't already, go over to thealphareset.com, where you'll see more videos and trainings from Tim, the Powerful Man himself. And we'll see you next time on The Powerful Man Show.